Hello there and welcome along, whoever is joining us today, and whether you're joining us live or whether you're catching up on this later. It's lovely that you are here, and I hope this session is going to be helpful for you. So, as ever, we will come to sitting. If this is your first time doing this, you will need just a chair, any kind of chair. A dining room chair like this one is ideal, but if all you've got is another kind of chair, a chair with wheels, make it work. Anything is fine. And if it's okay for you, you might like to kick off your shoes so that you can feel the ground under your feet. And particularly with today's session, which is going to be all about grounding and that sense of coming back to ourselves. With all the things that I'm going to suggest today, they are just suggestions. So please take care of yourself. If there's anything that doesn't feel right in your body, then either do something different or just skip that bit. If you are breathing, then you are doing it right. So don't worry about modifying it to suit yourself. Okay, so we will start today, as we always do, just sitting up nice and tall in your chair. Come towards the edge of the seat so that you're using your core muscles to help support you, rather than leaning back on the chair. And try and sit up nice and tall, imagining that there was a string pulling you up from the crown of your head. Then once you come there, just get any fidgeting out the way, and then try and come into stillness. And you might like to close your eyes or look away from the screen. And the reason that I've picked a theme of grounding for this week is because, I don't know where you might be joining us from, but here in the northeast of England, we've had Storm Arwen, and then we had snow and ice, and now it's December, and I've got a child, and all of those things, just a recipe for craziness. I know people who've had a lot of damage to their homes, and just generally who found this a slightly tricky few days. So this practice should just help you to just reset things a little bit and come back to maybe feeling a bit more like yourself, get the adrenaline levels down a little bit. So if you're sitting and breathing, as I say, you're doing it right. But then from there, I'm going to just invite you to check in with your body. And first of all, just see how you're feeling today physically. So are there any particular parts of your body that are speaking to you? Anything that feels either good or a little bit off? And at the moment, we're just treating this as information. So it's not anything's not good or bad. It's just information about how you're feeling physically. And then once you've done that quick scan of how you're feeling physically, I'm going to just invite you to take a moment to check in with how you're feeling mentally today. What's going on in your head? And again, there's no right or wrong. This is just information. Can't expect to come to a yoga class and kind of empty your head immediately the minute you come in the door. So just checking in with how you feel mentally. And then finally, just take a little moment to check in with how you feel emotionally. And this is something that we generally in British culture don't really do enough of. And a lot of people, as a result, find it hard to know how they're feeling emotionally. And if that sounds like you, that's not any judgment. Again, it's just information. Just see how you're feeling. Maybe trying to go beyond obvious things like happy or sad. Maybe checking in with other things like maybe calm and contented, frustrated, disappointed, all these other kinds of emotions, which are all completely valid. They're just part of human existence. But then, as I say, just treating that as information, not getting too attached to it. And then just taking a moment just to take a couple of nice deep breaths. Then on your next breath, I'm going to invite you to try and extend your exhale a little bit. And something that can help with this is to exhale with your lips just slightly closed as if you were blowing out a birthday candle. What that does is it just means the air is coming out more slowly. So it just extends that exhale. And just take a couple more breaths like that in your own time. And extending the exhale like this is a fantastic way of switching on the rest and digest part of the nervous system and just helping to calm the body down a little bit. So if you make this next one your last, and then I'm just going to invite you to lift your head, open your eyes, and then come back and join us. And we'll just start with some gentle movement now. So we'll start off by just turning the head from side to side, just turning it to one side and then the other, only going as far as feels right for your neck. And although I would say you can choose the pace you want to do it at, try not to make this too fast. As I say, we're trying to use today's session just to drop into the body and try and counteract some of the craziness that's been going on these last few days. Okay, so if you just even up, so you've done the same number of head turns to both sides. And then we'll just do some stretches for the hands. So we'll bring the arms out in front, about shoulder height. And then first of all, we'll flip the hands upwards as if you were kind of pushing your hands onto the wall in front of you. Stretching out there, so that'll stretch out through the forearms. Maybe you're feeling it through the back and the shoulders. And then we'll flip that and bring the fingers pointing downwards now, stretching out through the wrists. And again, that you'll feel how that slightly shifts the feeling in the body. And then from there, let's just bring the arms up and overhead and have a really big stretch up here. Think about trying to lift up out of the hips and really stretching up. Maybe wiggling the fingers a little bit if that feels good. Maybe taking a little yawn if that feels good. Oh. And then we'll bring the arms down. Maybe a little roll of the shoulders just to wriggle that out. Then we'll just take a little side stretch here. So thinking of that length that you had in the body just a minute ago, we'll bring the right hand down and put it on your chair somewhere just for a little bit of support. Now we'll bring the left hand up, reaching it up first. Again, thinking of that length we had lifting up out of the hips a minute ago. And then maybe reaching up and over, trying to keep that left hip grounded down, but using that right hand on the chair for a little bit of support. And then coming up, then we'll take that over to the other side. So this time bringing the left hand onto your chair for a bit of support, bringing the right hand up and overhead, just reaching up here, making sure that right hip stays grounded this time, and then lifting up and over to the left hand side, getting a great stretch all the way down the right hand side of the body. And then stretching up and bringing that down. I'm just going to turn my chair around to the side so that you can see me here, and we'll come into doing some spinal flexion here. These are our seated cat and cow stretches. So starting sitting up nice and tall, and we'll begin by pulling the belly button in, rounding through the spine, tucking the chin into the chest, and really curling forwards here, rounding through the spine. And then just taking a little moment there, just to really feel the stretch all the way through the back of the body, the back of the neck. And then we'll flip it and go the other way. So lifting the head up, lifting the nose up, and letting the spine kind of arch forward, letting the shoulders come up and back, the chest come up towards and the idea of towards the ceiling. It's not going to actually go towards the ceiling. Lifting the head up a bit for the opposite pose. And then again, just feeling that lovely openness across the chest here, open through the throat and stretching out the front of the body. And then we'll just alternate those movements with the breath. So exhaling as you round forwards, and then inhaling as you lift up, let the chest come forwards. So just go with the rhythm of your own breath. And certainly for me, I'm kind of rocking forwards and back on my sitting bones as well, just as I tip the pelvis forwards and back. I'll just take another couple of rounds like this. Just moving like this with the breath is really great for just kind of calming everything down. It's enough activity and kind of work for the brain just to kind of help take your mind off the things that might be bothering you. Okay, so if you even up and make sure you've done the same number of rounding and arching, and then we will come. We're not going to be up standing very much today, but we're just going to do a couple of standing poses. I'm just going to put my chair out of the way a little bit there. Now, when we talk about grounding, mountain pose is one of the best postures just for really getting back into the body and feeling strong and in touch with the outside world. So we'll start with the feet about hip distance apart. And then for this mountain pose, really bring your attention down into your feet and make sure that your weight is evenly balanced. So even sometimes taking a little rock from side to side and front to back can just help you get that feeling there of the weight being nice and balanced. And you want to feel that the weight's evenly balanced between the base of your big toe, the base of your little toe, and then the heel as well. Either thinking it as a triangle or a rectangle, whichever works best for your head and your feet. So making sure that you're really nice and balanced there, and also making sure your weight's evenly balanced from left to right as well. And then think about standing up through the legs, engaging all the leg muscles there so that you really feel really strong and grounded through the legs. Checking in with the pelvis that it's not doing anything kind of weird. Again, hips nice and level. Very slight engagement of the abdominal muscles and the back muscles just to help to support you. Roll your shoulders back and down. Then lift up through the crown of your head. Lots of space around the neck. Chin level. And the fingers are just relaxed down by your sides. And then just take a little moment, maybe closing your eyes if you want to. Although for some people that can make them feel a little bit wobbly. Just feeling that feeling, particularly feeling your feet on the earth and knowing that whatever is going on, the ground is there to catch you, to support you. Take a nice deep breath there. Then either open your eyes or we'll look back up. And let's move now. So from grounding the feet, let's move into a posture which is going to let us feel that grounding through the hands as well. So we're going to come into a downward facing dog using the chair. If your chair is on wheels or not particularly stable, or if it's a height that doesn't suit you, then you might want to do this on a table instead, but whatever works for you. And then we'll bring the hands down and really open your fingers wide like starfish as you put them down onto the seat of the chair. And again, a bit like we did there before with the feet, really bring your attention into the palms of your hands and try and make sure that the weight is evenly spread, and that you've got the joint of the thumb pressing down, the joint of the index finger and the joint of the little finger all in contact, and then the heel of the hand as well. So really good, that sense of grounding and connection in the hands. And then from there, just start to walk your feet back until you come into what feels like a great stretch for your back, the back of your torso, the backs of your legs. You can bend the knees here if you need to, if that feels good. If it helps you to get a better stretch through your hips. And opening up through the armpits, just really stretching everything out here, but feeling really grounded through the hands. And you can check in with the feet as well. And just again, try and get that feeling of being grounded through the feet. And this sense of connecting ourselves to the world around us. And just breathing there, stretching it out. And then let's gently walk it forwards. And come back up. Now, as promised, we're not going to spend very long standing up today. So that's it. We're going to come back down to sitting. So once you settled back down in your chair, again, just checking in with your posture. So making sure that you're sitting up nice and tall, that the feet are planted underneath the knees. And then from there, I'm going to invite you to bring your arms out nice and wide, a bit like the angel of the north. Have a really good stretch there. Maybe bringing the hands sort of back a little bit, if that's okay for your shoulders. And then wrap your arms around and give yourself a big hug. And, really just embodying that hug there, thinking of giving that little bit of love and affection to yourself, knowing that you're worthy of it. And then let's open the arms out wide, and whichever arm you had on top, I had the right arm on top there. We're going to open out again and then swap and bring the opposite arm on top. So for me, it's the left arm on top this time. And again, just holding yourself. By taking the time to do this session today, you're taking good care of yourself. And sometimes just a little physical reminder of that helps. This is also a good stretch for the shoulders as well. But it's not always about that in yoga. It's not always about the physical postures. Let's bring the arms out, maybe shake them off a little bit there. And then we're going to come into a little seated twist. So I'm going to turn my chair to the side so that you can see again, but you can just stay where you are. So you'll see I'm sitting right on the edge of the chair here, so I've got a bit of space behind me. Sitting up nice and tall, and bringing the right hand across to the left knee. The left hand comes around behind and lands wherever works for you on your chair. It will depend on your chair. It will depend on the length of your arms and your flexibility. So there is no one right place, but just find somewhere that feels like a good place for you as a bit of leverage. And then think about moving from the shoulder. So it's the shoulder that's opening out and back. And then maybe, if it's okay for your neck, turning the head to come along for the ride. And twists are fantastic at kind of almost this idea of like wringing out the sponge, but getting everything moving in your lymphatic system and helping to get rid of things physically that your body no longer needs. But that also can be quite a nice idea mentally as well, and emotionally. And then we'll gently unravel from there, and then we'll take it round to the other side. So this time left hand goes across to the right knee, right hand comes around behind and lands wherever works for you on the chair. And then think about moving from the shoulder. So it's the shoulder that comes back and round, and then turning the head with it and coming into a little seated twist here. Really stretching out through the shoulder. To say, this idea of wringing out the sponge, getting rid of all that dirty water, can be a great mental image for twists. And then we'll slowly unravel, come back to center. And then from here, we'll take a little seated forward fold. So bring your knees as wide as is comfortable for you. And again, think about lifting up nice and tall to start with. So we're lifting kind of up and out of the hips rather than just rolling forward with the head. So think about lifting up and out of the hips and then leaning forwards. And maybe you bring your elbows to your knees. And if that's enough for you, you can stop there. Or maybe you let the head come down, tucking the chin into the chest and just letting the head dangle. Maybe if you're happy there, you might bring your fingers down to the floor. Any of those variations is absolutely fine. Just find what feels good for you. And then when you come in to this shape, closing the eyes and just letting the body settle into this shape. And in this kind of position, it's often a great place to notice the movement of the breath in the belly. So you'll have that little bit of constriction around the belly. And noticing the breath moving there. It's a great way of just helping you keep that as a point of focus. And just taking nice, slow, deep breaths. And then when you're ready, on an inhale, tuck the chin in, engage the abdominal muscles a little bit, and then just roll it up, taking it nice and slowly. Making the head the last thing that comes up, walking the knees in. And then just taking a moment to notice as the blood now flows in the opposite direction, noticing how that feels. And then just checking in again with your posture, making sure you're sitting up nice and tall. And we're going to close today with a little grounding exercise, which again is another great one if you ever need to sort of get out of your head or get out of your emotions and into your body. So sitting up nice and tall, eyes either closed or looking away from the screen. And then first of all, just taking a couple of deep breaths just to settle in. And then with the eyes closed, it helps us to bring the attention to the other senses that we don't always notice so much. So I'm going to invite you to see if you can identify 4 things that you can hear right now. And you'll have different things in your environment. Some of the things I can hear is I can hear the computer just gently whirring. A train's just gone past. So see what you can hear, and you'll find that as you tune in your attention, you start to notice more and more things that a minute ago you would have sworn weren't there. And then I'm going to invite you to next try and see if you can identify 3 things that you can feel, that you can touch. Now, you might think again, well, I'm sitting and I'm not moving, so how can I be touching anything? But for example, see if you can feel the fabric of your clothing under your fingers. And then touching isn't always about just the fingers. Maybe you can feel your feet touching the floor or the fabric of your socks or your shoes. Maybe you can feel the temperature of the air on your skin. And then these next ones can be a little bit trickier, but have a go and see how you get on. See if you can find 2 things that you can smell. And maybe perfume, maybe something in the room around you. If it's not a pleasant smell, that's okay. That's part of life. Maybe you're next to the dirty washing basket, and that's completely normal. And then finally, one thing that you can taste. Maybe it's you've just had your lunch or the last thing you had to drink. Maybe you can just taste the inside of your mouth and your saliva. Maybe toothpaste if you just brushed your teeth. Whatever it is that comes up for you is absolutely fine. And then I want you to take the focus away from any individual sense and try and just use all your senses together. So taking sight out of the equation, but using all your other senses to tune in to the environment round about you, tune into your own body. And then take just a couple of final deep breaths. And then when you're ready, gently opening your eyes. That is where we are going to finish today. So I hope that you are feeling a little bit more relaxed or at peace than you were when you started. And it's great to have you along to join us. And do share this with anybody else you think might benefit. And I hope to see you again soon. Namaste.